Hi, I'm Amanda.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and we're both native speakers living here in Poland for many, many years.
Oh yeah, 25 years between us, like nothing.
A quarter of a century,
Wow.
Easily. Now, we've had a little bit of experience with Poland and its traditions, its language, and we're here to help you with some Easter terminology today. And well, Easter's a little bit different here in Poland.
Yeah,
from what it is in the United States, isn't it?
Right. There's definitely some specific things that they do here that, as far as I know, they don't really do anywhere else, and definitely it's celebrated differently than in the United States. Some of the things are the same, but a lot of it's quite different. So we're going to get through as much of that as we can today.
As we can, yes,
right.
and be somewhat useful for you as well. Now, when you wish to describe some Polish traditions in English, and we'll share some of the American traditions as well, although
right.
I don't think we have as many.
Not as many, but we have a few.
But we'll talk about those few.
To
now, the first word, of course, is Wielkanoc, which is a beautiful word, isn't it? Like great night, if you translate it. But of course, it's the word Easter. Now, why is it so different? It's strange, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think the word Easter comes from a different origin. I mean, I think that actually, ladies and gentlemen, we won't tell anybody here, but that actually has a pagan origin. And it comes from, well, there's the goddess Ostara or something, and so this was the goddess of spring and the new blooms on the plant and the new
dawn,
light.
Right?
And dawn, I think, right. So it has to do with the lengthening of the days and the return of the light. It all fits together nicely. And then there's Ostara, which is also a vernal equinox holiday, pre-Christian holiday. So it all, I guess the church decided
it's completely
to just...
different. East, we have in English, and then Easter, it's Germanic. It has a connection. And Wielkanoc, meaning the great night, has really focused much more on the resurrection.
The resurrection, right.
So it's quite different. However, we do have simple translation. Easter. It's not that complicated.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of people, characters involved here in Easter, besides religious ones.
Oh, I see.
And one of them is right here.
Yes, this character, the Easter bunny.
Easter bunny, that's right. In Polish, of course, zając,
Easter
zajączek.
hare.
Wielkanocne, right?
Right.
Zając. Zając, so zajączek. Why are we calling it a bunny? And is it different? I mean, bunny, rabbit, and then you have hare.
Well, I guess if you want to really get into the difference between a hare and a rabbit, the hares are the larger and wild. And that's probably
zając.
Right.
Zając is hare.
Yeah, and I suppose...
And that's spelled H-A-R-E, which is different, of course, from hair that you find on your head, for example.
Yeah.
So, but we don't use this word regularly, at least in North America, unless you're talking about hunting.
Right, because I guess even so, hares, usually in the wild you see wild rabbits, which are still rather small. Hares are big. So I guess, it's just a slightly different kind of animal. And maybe when, people started talking about this, they happen to encounter more hares here, because I do think you encounter, you see hares here. There actually are wild hares here.
In your part of the United States, there are no hares?
Well, I think there are, but we have rabbits. They're little rabbits, they're little brown rabbits. They're not if you've seen a hare, it's more like the size of a small dog or a cat. They're clearly a different animal.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So for the most part, we do say Easter bunny, Easter rabbit.
And they're usually portrayed as the white, fluffy, kind of domestic bunny, right? So that's just a little difference, but I think that kind of also goes with the commercial kind of greeting card, aesthetic that we have in the United States with the fluffy white bunnies, right?
Well, it's really strange. I just don't get the whole idea, but then I did some research on it, and I found out the reason that we do use the rabbit, bunny, or if you prefer hare, is because in the medieval times they did believe that it was able to have children without having sex.
Oh, okay.
And so it resembled something of the situation with, of course, the Virgin Mary and the Marian cult. And as a result, people associated the bunny with Mary in some way, shape, or form. Okay. However, of course, the tradition has remained with us, and its meaning is not there. So this bizarre symbol that you see on both sides of the Atlantic, of a large rabbit, hare, bunny, with eggs.
With eggs, there you go.
Of all things, is something that represents Easter. And it's quite international.
Right.
Now, of course, we also have the Easter basket, yes, which in Poland is really, really important. It's koszyk, of course.
Right.
Now, what's inside that basket? Do you know? We
Well,
have all sorts of things like.
The one that in Poland,
we'll use
right?
The Polish
we'll
words,
start
yes.
with the Polish one. So this is interesting because it's quite different. It's usually full of not the goodies that we have in the United States. Usually you
we have chocolate and
right,
stuff like
we have
that.
chocolates and jelly beans, right? And here, I think a lot of times they'll have the little lamb that's kind of
Well, let's use the Polish terminology first.
right.
Like baranek.
Baranek
right?
is the little kind of
it's a baby.
baked.
It's a lamb.
It's a lamb.
Although they call it the little ram.
Right, right.
And it's typically hard, made of sugar.
Yeah.
It can be ceramic as well.
Yeah, or sometimes it's kind of like it's a baked thing, isn't it? Like a kind of one that looks like it's made out of bread or something. I'm not.
Oh yeah, but it can be solidified sugar as well. There's so many different
a lot
varieties.
of versions of it.
But we would say that's a lamb, right? For the most part.
Right,
it represents
the Lamb of God, right? The sacrifice. And let's see. Then you've got eggs, of course.
Okay, I would just go through the Polish terminology.
Sure.
Baja is the other thing that you have, and we would translate this for the most part as pussy willow.
Oh yeah, okay.
The pussy willow, right? And that's something that in America you would certainly not put in your basket. Pussy willows hanging. Unfortunately, I don't have them here with us, but you do have the pussy willows when it's the season. They're all over.
Yeah,
and it's a symbol of spring.
Spring, yeah. Anything with the shoots and all, the shoots and the blossoms and everything. I mean, that's pretty universal. And maybe they have that as part of, you might do that as part of a decoration or something, but
certainly not in your basket.
No.
The kids would be disappointed.
Right. Unless they were chocolate, blooms or something.
And then they put a little bit of, sometimes they put, I don't know, maybe only in Silesia, sometimes they put the buchspan, which they call, which in English is boxwood. It's that greenish evergreen. Those are little plants that you'll see in gardens these days. They stay green throughout the year. Now, we don't have any.
Nothing, no. That's strictly here. I've never seen that in the States. The boiled eggs.
Well, pisanki,
right. The boiled and colored
eggs. And that you can see throughout most of Europe. It's quite popular.
Yeah.
I mean, Ukraine is well known for it as well. But then you place eggs in your basket. In the United States, do we put eggs, hard-boiled eggs? Decorated eggs?
Sure.
Or just plastic ones?
Well, I think you kind of do both because the plastic ones usually have something in them like candy or some kind of little toys or something. Or, you've got the ones that you hide, which we'll get into later. But these are just the, colored and the dyed and painted ones. And
for the most part, here they have a tradition, whether they use different ways of dyeing, coloring the eggs. And in America, we also color eggs, right?
Yeah.
But then we do put them in our baskets or not?
Yeah, we did that. And then, then you'd be eating egg salad for, 2 weeks or something. But yeah. And those would be, I don't know if people hide those. I mean, we always had them hidden around the house or something. But I think some people just do that with candies. I don't know. It's probably different.
All right. And then not only do you have pisanki, buchspan, baja, and you have the baranek, but you also, and of course,
Kshan, horseradish.
No, that's not something we would put. That would be a real disappointment.
No. You give some kid a horseradish in his Easter basket. That would be a terrible thing.
So horseradish.
Right.
Then of course,
sweet
pieprz, of course.
Salt and pepper.
Then they have wędlina.
So I guess smoked meat, the sausages and things.
Well, wędlina, it's so difficult to translate. This is one of these words that I've always had arguments with students about because I always used to say, sausages. No. Szynka, ham.
Right.
And kielbasa, sausages are wędlina.
Right.
And the term I've come up with is cured meat.
It's cured, okay. I always thought it was something cured, okay. Preserved in some way,
Now, we don't have an easy way of saying wędlina in English. We don't say, I have some cured meats.
No, I mean, because how do you cure them? You smoke them or you do some kind of salt thing, right?
And there's many different methods, I think. You're not asking an expert.
But I guess, back in the, when this was probably what you had at that point to eat was something preserved. So that would make sense.
Over the seasons, that's right. So the idea then, of course, is that you would have ham or sausage. I would just say ham or sausage if you do want to talk about wędlina because there's no real good word in English unless you're an expert in this field. Then perhaps cured meats and you could discuss how they're cured.
Yeah.
But then they do have some meat in there as well, cured meat. And then they place something like this on top of the entire basket. And this is what they call servetka.
Servetka.
Now, servetka napkin, is it working for you?
Well, it's not a, just everyday napkin. It's usually decorative. I mean...
Can I say doily?
A doily, I guess.
But it's more of those lace things, aren't they?
Yeah, but like to me, that's clearly a doily. It's just a
Is it
Easter,
a doily?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert.
I think doilies were the only, like, the white ones that were crocheted.
We'd have to get a doily consultant here to really clear this up, but, we'll just call it a decorative napkin. At this, I think that's the best way.
But certainly not servette.
Because they don't all, no, I mean, they don't all have some of them are more like a cloth than a doily,
Right.
So, but they're usually very nice. A lot of them are probably hand sewn.
Doily is decorative napkin. There's no, and it's typically made of some sort of lace-like fabric, right?
Right.
I think lace-like material, I should say.
Yeah.
And we certainly don't have them in our Easter baskets.
No. Usually we have the fake grass in there.
Yes, you can have a little bit of fake grass. But here in Poland, what they do is actually they go the Saturday before Easter, and they have poświęcić, meaning they bless their baskets. And so what they do is they take the napkin off, and the priest sprinkles holy water on the objects that are going to be blessed.
Right.
And then, of course, the napkin is placed back over. Right, for the most part, I think. But for sure, they do take the napkin off. When you're going, you have the napkin there.
Yeah.
And in America, we bless our baskets? People just stare at me and say, "Oh yeah, the children are getting their baskets blessed."
I think that's I don't know, because maybe if you grew up and went to like a Polish Catholic church, you might have something like this. I think your typical
Catholic church, no. I mean, Irish, Italian kids, were they getting their baskets blessed? I
never heard of it. This is the first time I've heard of it. It was coming here. So it's probably something that we, in the United States, unless you're in a very specific kind of society, you probably don't do this. Unless you have really strong Polish roots or something. I just don't think it's part of the program. So
you're going to have to explain to anybody who's not from Poland, particularly not from this portion of Europe, that yes, you get your baskets blessed. What is inside the basket, the tradition, why is it done that way? It does vary from region to region, but these are things that we typically don't understand as North Americans, and I would even argue Brits wouldn't have any understanding of this as well.
Maybe not. No, because our Easter basket is just a lot more for fun. It's for the kids.
And we'll talk about that at the end of this episode. Now, of course, then there is śniadanie wielkanocne. What is that all about?
It's the Easter breakfast, right? Or
it's a big one. It's a big breakfast.
Right. Because I guess this is after you've had your Lent.
That's right. You fasted the entire time. Then you could chow down and eat as much as you want from your Easter basket. Which, of course, we forgot to say that in the basket you also have chocolate. Now, kids typically put chocolate in there. Yeah. So, but that's more American or maybe international. But then they typically eat the ham, the eggs, the horseradish, all of those contents, and they eat quite a bit. I mean, quite a number of eggs. Yeah,
it's quite a spread.
And of course, that's probably one of the larger meals actually during this.
Yeah, I think actually Easter is a bigger deal here than Christmas, from my experience. I think to me it seems like that is the more important holiday, because the Christmas Eve, I mean, it is a big deal too, but it tends to be a little more solemn, and I feel like Easter's a bit more of a, maybe not now. Now, Christmas is completely commercialized and Easter is less commercial, but I feel like it's, as far as a church holiday, it seems like it's a bigger holiday here.
Well, it is, for sure. It's a more important Christian holiday. I mean, it's the most important Christian holiday. But for the most part, I do think that Easter breakfast is pretty big. People do eat quite a bit, and it's the end of the fasting. And what's strange here is then they have another holiday right after Easter, which we don't have, and that, of course, is Poniedziałek Wielkanocny.
Right, Easter Monday.
Easter Monday. Does that mean anything to you?
Well,
Easter
I think
Monday.
we do have, in the States, that is a day off, isn't it?
No
way. You went back to school on Easter Monday?
Easter.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not saying that we go back to school, but
Yeah.
there's no way that, I'm not going to the office today. I got
Oh.
Easter Monday.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a real holiday here where you actually don't go to work, and I think everything's closed. And they have, should we go into what they do on Easter
Yeah,
Monday?
that's right.
Okay.
And they have a tradition that's called...
It sounds kind of like ЩMIGUS DYNGUS, which to me, there's something about it. It just, it sounds like it's something worse than it is. And so this is where I guess the boys chase the girls around and throw water on them, right?
Well, that's right,
Yeah.
for the most part.
So, but I think what it usually deteriorates into is people just throwing water on everybody else, at least, but kids, you know.
Well, it's called Lane Podijawek as well.
Yeah.
So, what, wet
Monday? Wet Monday or like soaked Monday, right?
But
Yeah.
how would you translate it into English? Like wet Monday?
Wet Monday.
This is where you take your water gun out and
Podijawek.
shoot your wife and the children, the girls
Yeah.
and the family.
And I
And
guess
it's always the boys versus the girls is the thing. And now there's a newer tradition on Tuesday. The girls go after the boys, I've heard.
oh, this I don't know about, but okay, good to
Yeah,
know.
well, supposedly that's
Yeah.
the tradition. But this is a tradition again, baptism, rebirth. All of these traditions here are connected to Easter.
Yeah.
And it is a tradition you have to be careful, especially if you're a woman.
Yeah.
If it's cold out there,
yeah.
you got this ЩMIGUS DYNGUS, Lane Podijawek, and you can be attacked by random men, boys, typically boys.
Yeah. And they have I guess a more polite version where I've actually had kids ask me, which I find very, very nice. Can we spray you with a little water gun? I've never actually had anybody like full on dump a bucket of water on me or something. I suppose this happens. But, and then I guess, the light version is somebody sprays perfume on you.
Yeah.
But
that's also pretty nasty because they use that cheap stuff.
Yeah. It's not the kind of perfume you want necessarily
Now,
sprayed.
in the United States, can I just run and attack some people outside
No,
church?
you'd probably get shot. I wouldn't do that.
So yeah, if I went out and shot some people. No, I mean, it's seriously cold here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, you could come down with pneumonia or something from being, if you really got soaked. But they tend to just squirt with like the water guns, right?
Well, women actually take umbrellas with them to church.
Oh,
So,
okay.
work-wise, if you're here.
I
bring
usually
an
just
umbrella.
stay home on this day because I'm not interested in any of that.
All right, in the United States, what do we do? Now, we just talked all about
Easter.
Polish traditions. We do have the Easter bunny, not the Easter
Right.
hare. We do have Easter baskets filled with chocolate and jelly beans. Now, what are these jelly beans you're talking
Well, I
about?
guess the jelly beans are, what do we even call them in Polish? They're kind of also like little stand-ins for eggs, right? They shape like eggs. They're jelly beans. I suppose you could eat jelly beans any time of the year.
Well, I did a little bit of research on this one
yeah.
as well, and it's really strange because it was the Boston Bean Company back in the 30s or 20s decided that they want to have a little part of the action during Easter, and so they created jelly beans, which were meant to be a certain type of sweet candy for people during the Easter season.
Okay, well there you are. And
But that is really popular. I think jelly beans are huge. Now you have gourmet jelly beans, you have hundreds of flavors. People go really crazy over that stuff. Not you.
Not me. Well, I don't know. I'm just not, I'm out of touch, I guess. I didn't
But we do
realize.
have those marshmallow things as well, like the peeps.
Oh, the peeps, the little, I guess the little marshmallow chickens.
The baby chicken, the chicks are also a popular symbol of Easter here and there.
Right.
But it's just a lot of sugary, sweet stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, we go more
Colorful,
for
too.
the, candy overload. And, and we also
None
have...
of the ham and horseradish.
No, it's all candy in the
doilies.
Easter basket. I mean, you would have been absolutely furious if you got a sausage in your Easter basket as a kid in America. Like, what the hell is this?
A chunk of ham.
Ham and sausage and horseradish. Salt.
What
And a
outrageous...
napkin.
You gotta be joking me. No, but you have not been hoaxed. You're just in Poland.
You've
But
been
we do
punked.
we have another tradition altogether, and that's the Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
And what's all that?
Well,
about?
that's where usually your parents would hide some of your Easter eggs. Mine would hide the colored ones, like, you know, and I guess the Easter bunny brings the eggs and then you have to find the eggs. And
now,
then,
is that inside, outside?
I guess it depends on ours was, you know, depending on the weather. Because you know how it is with Easter, sometimes, you know, like this year it's late, so it's probably going to be nice, but sometimes it's still in March and you can have snow on the ground. So it's indoor, outdoor, depending. In our house, it was like, depending on what was happening outside. But we have that, and then sometimes you have the Easter egg roll, which is a whole other...
Now, is that popular? Because do we do an Easter egg roll?
You know, I know they do it on the White House lawn, and I do have some memories of different places doing it, where it's like, you know, I suppose they roll them down. It's also kind of like a hunt.
Win if my egg goes the furthest?
Something like you have a spoon and you push it, you know.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I suppose it's like a race, you know. And then also I think you have to pick up a bunch of Easter eggs, and you know, I don't know if there's a contest element to it.
But it's really child focused,
it's for
right?
Kids,
it's for kids as the whole
The baskets are for kids.
It's not where grandma's bringing in her basket to get blessed.
Right,
It's just really, it's much more oriented towards kids. Now, here in Poland as well, but I know that in the East, when I was living in Lithuania, another tradition was to have the two hard-boiled eggs, and two people would hit them
together,
and then see who wins.
Like who breaks their egg
the most? If your egg shell breaks,
okay,
then I won, and then I can go on to the next round and attack grandma's egg.
Okay.
Now, in the United States, we don't do anything
I've never
like
heard
that.
anything like that, no.
I don't even know what you would call that.
No, it's like a, I don't know, did they have a name for it?
Yeah, they did, but it's not
Lithuanian. We're not talking about Lithuanian right now.
But for the most part, I've seen this tradition. I've introduced it to my family here, and my kids absolutely love it because they love destroying all the eggs. But for the most part, once in a while, you would get some clever person in Lithuania who would also have like the wooden egg and then attack everyone.
Okay.
But for the most part, there are many, many different types of traditions. But in the United States, let's just say that it's really colorful, sugar-focused, and really about kids for the most part.
For the most part,
if you're talking about the religious aspect, that's all a little bit different, of course. Catholics, Protestants, evangelicals, all of them have their own traditions. They all do go to church. They celebrate the resurrection of Christ. But for the most part, the cultural aspect is just maybe not as prevalent or as important in everyday life as it is here.
I would say not. Well, you know, it's different here because I think there's basically one religion here. You know, you don't have, there's no question that just about everybody you know is...
Well, they celebrate in one shape or another, right?
Right.
So this is really important for you to be able to understand. Now, there's lots of other things as well here in Poland concerning Easter. We've talked about just the basics. Dessert is another one, of course. We've talked more than enough about babka.
Okay.
Yes, about pound cake. But mazurek is another one. Do you know this cake or not?
Yes, I do know it. How would we? I don't even know how you would describe it as a type of cake in English.
It's an Easter cake
Easter
as well.
cake, but
and I mean, do we have an Easter cake like mazurek? Is there something that we can translate it as? Because otherwise you have to talk about the way it's prepared.
Yeah, I mean, nothing comes to mind as far as, you know, a typical cake that you would have for Easter. Even babka as a name of a cake I have seen in the United States sold as a babka.
Oh my gosh, it's like pierogi now,
yeah,
right? So,
no, I mean, I think it may depend regionally, you know, if you're somewhere like where you have enough people who would actually know what a babka is. But yeah, I've seen it, you know, with the...
But do we have a type of cake to celebrate, to say, oh, this is the beginning of spring, this is the Easter holiday? Do we have a dessert that's served?
No, I mean, I think you would probably, you know, do something along the lines of a cheesecake or, you know, something.
Really?
I mean,
oh
I don't know, but this mazurek or something like... No.
Carrot cake.
Carrot cake? No,
no,
really?
I meant for the bunny.
Oh, no, for the bunny.
But there's nothing, we don't have a tradition like
Not like that. Not so specific. I think that's a big difference between, you know, the way people do holidays here and the way people do in America is here there seems to be much more of a specific menu, a specific...
Well, there's variation.
There's variations regionally for sure. But like in the States, people kind of do their own thing.
Well, I just don't think Easter's celebrated that much for the most part in that way.
Maybe not as a church. I think there's less people that go to church in the States. I really think, you know...
Really? Okay.
Or if they do, maybe not less people go to church, but... I think you have plenty of people that do stuff for Easter that don't go to church. You know, they'll do Easter egg baskets for their kids, but they're not going to church. And
it's become, as you said, a little bit commercialized.
Yeah.
It's much more focused on children. There's a lot of sweets. If you go to any supermarket, you're just going to see tons of Easter candy, I would say, for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference. Here in Poland, you do have a lot of tradition. It brings families together. You do have a day off. People don't go to work on Monday. You have Easter Monday off. And the entire country shuts down for the most part. And people are just spending time with their families. So we hope that this terminology has helped you a little bit to be able to describe some of those Polish traditions, to understand, well, cultures like Amanda and my culture, that is, of course, from North America, and how it's so much different, and how you have to put a little bit of effort into explaining some of these Polish traditions, which are wonderful, and we, for the most part, won't be able to understand unless you really just try to explain them. Because when you say blessing of basket, no matter how good your English is, how you're able to explain that is another story you're going to have to explain to your audience, who probably, for the most part, don't understand anything concerning Easter. And so when we came here, we had to learn a lot, and we learned it in Polish, and now our job is to explain it in
translate
English.
It back, which is not the easiest task all the time.
But we do wish you a fantastic Easter. So happy Easter from us here at
Easter.
Świat Języków, and we hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.